CB Law's representatives Loud will take on the LEC's G2 Esports in our opening featured matchup, presented by Mercedes-Benz. Loud will have their work cut out for them as G2 come in as the heavy favorites.
Can he make it for it? Rock and stone!
But the back-to-back CB Law champions are no strangers to beating European teams, having taken down Fnatic last Worlds.
This might be an ace on the table out of the Brazilian.
The 2019 MSI winners are a shadow of their former selves, with only Caps and Mickey X remaining. After being knocked down to play-ins by the eventual LEC Spring champions, they'll be looking to return to the form they showed in winter.
Thomas killed one carry. He wants to kill another. Oh, the penta for Hans.
Now the question is, will Loud ban Draven?
That will Loud ban Draven? That's the question. Welcome back to MSI 2023 and the featured matchup presented by Mercedes-Benz. G2 Esports from the LEC facing off against the CB Lols Loud. Now, London, I do have to check. How many G2 fans do we have in the audience?
It's a lot of them.
I have to be honest. I actually think what I'm about to ask. How many Loud fans do we have in the audience?
There's a section out there.
50,
It's a loud section.
There are a lot of jerseys in the back there.
Yeah.
Right, we are a few minutes away from introducing G2 as well as Loud officially on stage. Before we do that, let's talk about the teams and talk about how they got here. Loud is just a phenomenal success. They've picked up back-to-back CBLOL titles, and if you heard Gulborg from Countdown earlier today, as an organization, they are a phenom. They have won every single game that they have competed in. They have taken over the influencer space and the streaming space, and of course, they were able to pick up the championships in CBLOL as well.
By only dropping 2 playoffs games as well in that regard, they did it very cleanly, and CBLOL's first perfect game ever in a playoffs as well, so yeah, absolutely phenomenal.
The way they do it is really interesting because they're just an exciting team to watch, a playmaking team. It feels like Robo is just unleashed on the map. So it's fun. You can hear them chanting their names out there, and I want to see that energy translated in the game because Robo, we talk about how he roams constantly. He did it in the finals versus Weiser. He did it in the first round versus Los Grandes. Like the fact that they as a team will look for plays, they're hungry for action, is nice to see.
I want to just check, do we have that B-roll for Robo to pull up? If we do, we can carry on building on it. But obviously there's a little bit of moving parts here. GB, what do you make?
No, I think it's just the fact that they are also one of the regions where they realize that, yes, top lane can matter in regards that we still want to play Olaf, but we want to play Olaf so we can just push in and run straight down towards the bottom side and make plays around the mid and bot lane, specifically securing the objectives.
Yes, and this is an example that I was talking about in the finals versus Pain Gaming. The fact that Robo, immediately after pushing top lane versus the Gnar, goes mid lane, tries to counter-rank the gank, goes and tries to harass, get a kill off of Sejuani, it actually puts him behind. So there's always a risk involved there. He did this versus Los Grandes. That was the example that I was mentioning when he was on the Malphite. Looks mid at level 6, tries to find a pick, does find a pick. So there are moments where it works. That was an example where it doesn't. There's a risk involved and they go for it.
Why didn't you take the one where it worked?
I wanted to highlight the risk and reward.
I hope the energy and the volume is coming through our home, but literally since the Brazilian crowd and obviously the local squad of G2 have taken to the stage, it's quite electric here in the venue.
Yes.
Let's throw yourself a little bit. Now let's turn our attention again, of course, to Loud, talking about their Korean bot laner. The very first imported bot laner to win CBLOL. I mean, it is a monumental achievement, but also for the organization as well.
Yeah, first of all, it speaks to the history of Brazilian AD carries, but with Root now coming in as well, he's just the main carry on this roster. When they play around him, they function. When they do not play around him, they do not function. There was games in playoffs where they tried to play for their Malphite, tried to set up dives on the top side while they still had a good draft where you play front to back through your AD carry, but they ended up getting cross-map and Raud just stuck back and then Ophelia is just dying on the turret. So when he gets the resources, absolutely excellent.
While you're right, he died. He took a man down with him.
That's very
that
true.
outplay potential that's really funny. And it's the energy that kind of flows through the team of like, yes, there's always a risk. You don't want to leave your Aphelios alone when you want to play towards him, but Root is able to outplay in those moments and in team fights, and so there's that hope that comes from the Brazilian
There's no but
fans.
after it. It's just always a risk with Loud. That's just what it is. There's no but.
But that's going to make it exciting to watch, I hope. The question is, what version of G2 are we going to see? I think you can make a defendable argument that G2 Esports is the biggest name out of all of the play-ins teams.
Yeah.
This team, however, fell short in spring. As a reminder, the LEC has had 2 splits, winter and spring. G2 dominated winter. and they placed 4th in spring. I do think they need to improve their play. I'm going to say it bluntly, we said it earlier today, Craps showed up in the spring playoffs, and I do think it's going to be interesting to see how Yike adapts, because in winter, he was one of the pop-off performers.
I think it's very clear that both teams are coming in with a different kind of momentum behind them. Loud of a high, G2 really of the back end of it, and you can see it in some of the plays we've shown here. We've shown this one so many times. Bit unlucky with Larson getting the level up on the turret, but it's the hesitation that allows it. And it's kind of a not a roller coaster effect, but a domino effect where play after play, it unfortunately just happens, and it's really on his own accord, unfortunately.
Yes, and so that's the execution not working well for them. The draft is really interesting because they seem to experiment a lot in how they play. Sejuani mid. We also even see in solo queue that it feels like Broken Blade is trying to play a little bit more Cassiopeia. They're a team that will try new things to support their jungler in Yike, or just try and work towards carry picks for Broken Blade, so you cannot predict this team.
That's the thing as well, and I think for Caps as well, the question just remains, is it Caps that goes to an international that shows up, right, or is it what we saw there? Because it's redemption for Caps now.
Yeah.
We know he can do better, and we kind of need to see it too.
Now, of course, let's talk a little bit about the rest of the squad too. Broken Blade coming into this one, I think Yike as well is one of the players that new to this international stage. Hans Summer, and I mean, Draco said it right at the end of the video, will Draven be banned? It's going to be a question mark, because these are players that are going to be called to step up.
Definitely. There's multiple
like
spears of trophies from the side of spears of attack that you can have from the side of G2, but in the end as well, Yike, I want to see him come through with what he did in winter. I want to see him be facilitated.
Yeah.
I want him to see the guy that says, you know what, play behind me, let me do my thing, let me carry, let's see the Belvet, let's see all these things. But even if we don't, it's the flexibility he also has.
It's kind of scary. Because I've seen those games where he's on that Belvet, he gets an early advantage, and then he just hunts in the enemy jungle and does not let you breathe. And when that happens, you're like, holy crap, this is the Yike, this is the person that they had replacing Jankos, and this is the person that they're putting a lot of faith in, right? So when you see those moments, it's like, I can see why. But obviously, there's the other part of that coin where you're like, okay, the insecurity of like those games, it could go long. It could go to a full bet game 3.
And that's the Yikes.
I want to ask you whether it'll be Yikes or Claps or Craps or all coming up L, right? Before I do, let's see who the fans predicted in our Moscow fan prediction. Each day, you can head over to @MastercardNexus on Twitter to participate. No surprise, 79% of the fans have voted for G2. I believe time zones will be influencing this one just a teeny bit. So now we see Caps' dad in the audience.
There he is.
Cheering and chanting. And this is going to be a loud one. I cannot wait for our Irish Dapper duo to get you into game. Before we do, though, we'll have to introduce the fans, and before that, we need predictions. We have a few minutes still to go.
Yes.
Who will win this series? How will they win it, and which player are you looking at?
I'm going to start off by saying the player, Yike. I think Yike is going to be the player I look at.
To win or lose?
To win.
Okay.
I think we're going to be seeing 2 L's from Loud, and I think it's going to be G2 that comes in strong in the tournament.
Oh, I see all those arguments, and I do believe it kind of has to ring true as well. But I do have the benefit of the doubt, not necessarily for Loud, but also the kind of, in the back of my head, the fact that G2 can't keep it clean. There's going to be some happy gaming.
Those silent voices getting louder.
I'm going to say 2-1 to G2 as well, and I think for the same reasons here, I think it's about keeping track of Tenone specifically, keeping pinned on the tower, and if average Caps shows up and further than that, it should happen because so much of the playmaking potential lies there.
You are both leaning into the team that placed 4th in spring. Is that what I'm saying? I tell you what, I am hearing we're about 2 minutes away from heading on stage. Which champions are going to show up here? Because we did talk about the Belveth.
Yes.
We've also seen Yike struggling a little bit. The Draven is another question mark. I mean, you look at Root Champion Pool 2, like, there is a lot of explosiveness. I think, Raz, you also talking about the play style that Loud have coming into this one as well.
And I will just counter the point that you made about a 4th place team. Hearing from Elioya after their championship win, he thinks that G2 is the 2nd best team in that region, right, a top 2. So if it's just based off that information, I would agree with him. And to further that point, I think what we're going to see from this team is Yike propelling himself through and getting supported with the usual picks that we see. I think we're going to see Belvet. I don't think G2 should show anything. Just basically play how you played in the regular season with the same draft, and then hide when you start to see trouble later on in the tournament.
Yeah, and I think actually from the side of Loud, we've seen the Olaf so many times from Robo2 up towards that top side. I think the facilitators is something that you can count on from Tinons. The best game that they play is when they play it away from top lane, and they play it in mid lane and down towards the bottom side. Also keep a track of Croc in the early game. He is that yep crop or not crop.
Let me jump in. London, can I get your attention? I think everything's coming up L today. I think Loud take down G2. It's time for our second series of the day.
Wait.
G2 versus Loud.
What the hell is that?
Thank you so much, guys. Welcome to the Caster Desk. I am Just Oshi, and I am joined by the... Oh, I guess not.
Make some noise for Brazil's Loud! And welcome to the stage, Europe's very own G2 Esports! Fight for your life. Fight for your life. Fight for your life. This is your time. This is your moment. This is your fight. Fight for your life. You better fight. Fight for your life. You better fight. Fight for your life.
Welcome to the Caster Desk. I am Just Oshi, and I'm joined by the delightful Dagda. I don't know if they got a glimpse of us, a little bit tease of this Caster Desk as we get ourselves a full Irish here on the Caster Desk here. We're going to be bringing you G2 Esports versus Loud, and this crowd is loud. Like, this crowd is insane.
I am so excited for this series, though, because even as you talked about on the desk, there is so many picks that can come through.
Yep.
We've seen it so often that CBLOL has been that upset region over Europe as well. You look at Tinons, who was on Kaboom back in the day. When you look even last Worlds, this team, Loud, ended up beating Fnatic and causing bedlam at Worlds, and now G2 have to make sure they can bounce back into this.
That's the big thing. Bounce back. G2 are not coming in with the highest of confidences. Everyone still believes in them. It's still G2. It's still Caps on an international stage. But we got to see something from them today. We got to see what they're able to bring against Loud, and Loud are going to have a very rambunctious crowd behind them to build that momentum.
And I think a huge amount is trying to quell the rambunctiousness in that bot lane. We've seen if G2 are able to get these leads either through the jungle or even in that bot lane as well, they're able to take over games. They love to snowball, and for Loud, making sure you can get root into a good place is going to be so important for this series. And seeing if they can put that one big W on the board for them.
We'll see what they end up kind of going for right now, because obviously we had our first series, we saw a little bit. Nothing's really drastically changed in the meta right now. We're kind of seeing very similar picks, very high priority on the jungles, very much kind of people saying like, look, it's, you know, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
The thing is though, it's Caps. We know that Caps likes to bring out this funky stuff. Raz was talking about like the Sejuani mid, the Cassante mid. We've even seen Zach mid. And he's been messing about with a few picks in solo queue as well. But we'll hold on to that until we see exactly what we get.
Well, we got most of the bans on your board there. The Xayah has just kind of risen. It's skyrocketed in priority. That or the Rakan kind of tend to be the big ones here. G2 are the higher seed, so G2 chose to go onto the blue for this first game. They get away with the Olaf, the Maokai. We see the Kennen, Draven banned away from Hans Sama. And we'll see for that last ban, where do Loud want to go?
Yeah, a lot of respect given to the Olaf. It is the most banned champion against Loud, so G2 obviously coming in having done their homework, but I am curious to see exactly what the ending is going to be. Annie taken off the board by Wukong, still hyper priority here. We even saw first picked in game 1 of the series earlier.
Ooh, so we have some dark tech,
we do.
Potentially. You've been doing a little bit of research here with that Nautilus locked in.
Yeah, so we're actually talking to Laura about it backstage. Caps has been playing a lot of this Nautilus in the mid lane in solo queue. Emax, Abyssal Mask, Rush. So this isn't just the, hey, we're going to lock this in for Mickey X, the bot side. This is actually a big flex pick for G2 right now.
Yeah, big flex pick. Can go into the bot lane, can be used mid, depending on what you want to go for. But for Loud, you get an opportunity now to kind of pick in your bot lane. Get something that's solid here for Root, and make sure he's safe and sound in what he's able to play.
And it does feel now like you're going to have to see exactly what the plan is for this Nautilus on the next rotation. Because chances are, when you look at this, you want to get the Jinx here for Hans Sam in the bot lane. But if you end up pairing the Nautilus with it, it's not great. You oftentimes want to see something like the Thresh. So I think we might actually get this flex kind of opened up fairly quickly as to where it's going to go, which would be great for Loud as they start to go through this. But the Sejuani going to be picked up for Croc. You're already seeing these great team fighting tools come through.
And it covers so many bases. You've got such good early agency as well with the permafrost, and it's just a very good front line for something like an Aphelios to kind of scale with.
I think that's the big one here, is again trying to see if he can get Root into that late game. He's been so crucial for Loud in their games. Having the push for Tin Owns, leaning down to that bot side, picking up things like the Ahri so you can try and play aggressive towards those dragons, and I think that's where we're going to see a lot of this action open up. There's the Jinx that we talked about. Now the curiosity is, do they just go for a jungler here and try and keep that Nautilus flex open?
See what they want to go for now. Of course, if you do leave the jungle pick until the second rotation, can get a load of those kind of, higher priority ones going. But the Nidalee, the Death said it. They wanted to see Yike on powerful picks that he can suffocate the enemy on. This is exactly the kind of pick.
And did get some minor buffs coming into this, like just a little bit of armor and that. But the big one is a case of, we've actually seen a lot of junglers coming into MSI practicing things like the Nidalee, the Kha'Zix, these more carry-oriented junglers. And Yike has forever been that carry style. So expect now that you have that push for the Jinx in the bot lane, bringing in the Nidalee. They want to try and look for the invades. The pressure is going to be on Croc to see if he can withstand that engagement.
And the thing is that this might look like a takeaway by Loud, but this is Robbo's most picked in terms of the CB LoL. This is something he has played all year round. He's very proficient on the champion, and it works perfectly with the Sejuani as well.
Yeah, and I think, as you say, the fact you get to play towards strong skirmishing, towards Rift Town on that with this Renekton, I think that's where you're going to look towards. They'd love to try and get something like a Sylas in the mid lane as well, but I imagine they are going to try and leave that mid lane counter pick to the last rotation. But with the AP mid lane, they're going to take away the Jace as well, and even just get rid of some of the massive long-range tools that G2 have available for them, because you stick Broken Blade onto something that can play frontline and you just completely outrange everything that Loud offer right now.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised to see a Yone ban as well. Again, you have the Nidalee, you have got goods, kind of scaling with the magic and the attack damage, so we'll see what they want to go. And of course, Caps has played it throughout this split as well, so we'll wait to see what they want to go for. The Blitzcrank, I love how that's just kind of slowly becoming now this perma ban, because it is just like one good hook can just change a fight.
It's also a great answer into Thresh, which I think is probably what G2 are still trying to eye up here. You could actually take it away here for the side of Loud, just quickly take that, works well with the Aphelios, and you deny it away from the Jinx, because as we said, alright, yeah, they've kind of read it as well. This Nautilus does not necessarily need to go into that bottom lane.
No, it does not. So Thresh gets banned away. You mentioned that was what kind of the setup was looking for that Jinx. Does cover a lot of her weaknesses, but we shall not be seeing it here for Mickey X. And now G2, where do you want to try and round out these bans? You can continue to put some more pressure here into the Aphelios, or maybe look to try and get something away from that mid lane as well.
I think trying to get rid of engage tools is probably your best bet, because at least at the moment you still have this Sejuani there, but it definitely feels like you're trying to play a range here. So there's the Leona gone as well, and just making sure that you can try and use that big range discrepancy that you have to your advantage. And if G2 are able to go, hey look, we got the pushing bot, we can try and get something for a push for ourselves in the top lane, it becomes very easy then for Yike to continuously go for these invades, start to get that early lead, and make it very difficult then for Loud to find these big team fights.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, the one thing that you would imagine that gives the safety to the Jinx, if that Nautilus is not going into that bot lane, would be that Tahm Kench. So it looks like Loud trying to just ban that, or take that one away, use it for themselves, and give more defense, more peel for Rout in that bot lane.
It does mean, though, you're heavily reliant on this Sejuani to be your massive engage tool, unless you're willing to answer something like a Lissandra in the mid lane and kind of have Tin Owns be that. He's played it a lot, 6 games of it over the course of spring, so wouldn't be too surprised to see it, but I definitely think this is maybe an area where you open up and just go full for the full Freljord in this one.
Wait to see what they want to go for now. G2, you got to figure out where everything's going now. Might go, and they do! The Darius locked in there. They're going to try and get some serious pressure here on this Renekton.
Yeah, Broken Blade obviously learned a thing or two from Adam over the course of playoffs. It's like, hey, look, if you have a composition that is short range and needs to jump in on us, let's just go for it. And now we'll get the confirmation. It's exactly where the Nautilus is going. Oh, Mickey, go on.
Go on, my son. See if he wants to go for it. But again, hard engage. That is a Nautilus mid for Caps now. You called it straight off the bat, and he obviously feels very comfortable bringing it into this comp.
Yeah, he likes to go for the Emax on this Nautilus, gets a ton of push. You're able to go for a lot of high damage as well. And even the fact that you have a good amount of AP damage coming through from the Nidalee, you can rush this Abyssal Mask. It works wonders in the mid lane, and you don't really have enough AP damage at the moment on Loud to kind of flex into some sort of AD mid laner without causing it trouble further down the line.
Well, we'll see what they want to round out the comp with. The Ahri is standard, the Ahri is safe, and the Ahri is locked in. So again, honestly, you know, G2 kind of coming in a bit wild and loose right now, looking to try and get someone a little bit off kilter, whereas Loud are picking up a lot of their kind of, you know, standards that they picked up during the CB lull.
I think it's a little bit difficult for Loud. So what G2 have done and gone, cool, we have long-range AD carry, long-range jungler. If you jump in on top of us, well, we're enabling Rel, we're enabling Darius, even the Nautilus to a certain extent as well. So for Loud, they're going to have to try and get control with this strong top side and see if maybe they can find ways to shut down Yike in the early stages, play towards Rift Herald, get control of the game, because if you have to try and face check in as G2, that's where Loud can come alive and make sure they're able to close that distance without too much issue.
And the thing is, well, it's only Yike's second ever Nidalee game on a professional stage throughout all of his career, and he's had a very short career, in fairness to him. He has kind of speed ran from lower levels in the ERLs right up here until MSI in the international stage, but this best of 3 will be starting off now with both these teams looking to get out of the blocks swinging. They want to try and hit the ground running and make sure they're getting the advantage here in this series.
G2 trying to see if they can bounce back. Loud trying to see if they can upset the apple cart against Europe once more. It's not going to be the first time they've done it, and with the team that they have, back-to-back winners, Loud have been absolutely exceptional in the CB lull. We'll have to see now if they can continue that streak here up against G2.
And for Loud, it's just been such a massive meteoric rise in terms of the relevance of this team. Like we got Goldberg mentioned it on the desk as well. This team is just so everywhere. You can't really avoid Loud in any esport in general, but we'll see what they're able to do here. They've got a bit of a crowd behind them. As London, we are jumping into game 1 of the second best of 3. The LEC number 2 seed in MSI looking to try and make sure they can bounce back after a little bit of a disappointing spring.
So now we're going to have to see what G2 can achieve. Caps on the Nautilus going for the Aftershock. His solo queue win rate, 9-0 over the last week. This has been an absolute menace for Caps over the course of the last week in solo queue. And I'm excited to see now what he can bring it out on the main stage and what it's going to look like.
So I don't want to alarm anybody, but Croc doesn't have any items.
Okay.
Croc needs to go back and get his items. I don't know if he knows this or if there's a little bit of a bug on our side, but as of right now, it doesn't look like the Sejuani's going to be getting level 2.
Yeah, this is
actually massive.
Yeah, Croc really needs to cop on. I don't know if anyone has really realized, but we'll have to see exactly what the game plan is going to be. Yeah, I mean, you'll notice as soon as he ends up going for his initial clear, the funny thing is, if he actually dies, maybe that helps. Because
possibly, yeah. Give him a faster recall. But the invade has been spotted out. Nobody's gone for anything yet. Yike will be starting off this red buff here. And again, Croc doesn't have items. Yeah. I just need to make that very clear. So we're maybe going to have a little bit of a smite fight. Seos is around, though. They are looking for it, so going to land the spear here onto Croc. That's a fair bit of damage here. A little bit of already a bit of a skirmish coming in. They're going to try and go for the smite fight. They're going to jump in, though, from the thing. They're Croc. And this is the thing. He doesn't have items. He doesn't have level 2.
You can see him on the screen. He's realized how unfortunate it is. Does win the smite fight, but now forced to reset. And I think Yike has probably copped it as well. He's going to go back into his top side here and start to clear this out, but not the start you want as a CB Law representative.
And the thing is, you called the bluff, you called the invades, you were able to get everything set up, you even had the Tam Kench kind of come up with you, and now the bleed stacks from Broken Blade in the early level 2 means that Robbo, he's got no one to defend him because they know that Sejuani had to go back.
And it's going to go down towards that bottom side as well. The ward on the Raptors made it pretty clear that, oh, well, you're going to have to look towards the solo lane in the top side for Robo. And now we'll have to see if G2 can try and punish that one. Nidalee going to be clearing down towards the bottom side, but we're just going to get the repeat here. This is where, like, Croc taking a lot of damage because he actually isn't going to have a pet to try and heal. And yes, does get the smite, but you can see his face there. He knew how badly that had gone.
He realizes, he goes, wait, where's my level 2? Hang on. But look, it's a small little thing. It doesn't mean the world. It's obviously a small little advantage, and it's now what G2 can do with that information, with that little bit of extra tempo, is going to be the difference maker. I am curious to see now, with the amount of hard engage you have with G2, you got to be so careful with these mid-game skirmishes, as Robbo taking so much damage here from Broken Blade.
I think G2, the biggest plan they want to try and go for is actually, if you look at Yike, what they want to try and do is play around mid here, make sure they can burn Tin-Owns and continue to put the pressure on towards Croc in the jungle.
Tin-Owns has got decent wave clear, but again, so much single target CC when you have a Rel, Nautilus, and Flash Hook. Flash responded. And a little spear off the back of that one there. So Tin-Owns now without his mobility to escape that if it happens again.
Yeah, we'll have to see if they're going to be able to go for it. Nidalee invading for Yike on towards the top side, making sure that she can punish the fact that Croc had to reset. I think Croc, if he can, should try and invade onto this bottom side. It looks like with the roam from Mickey X towards mid, might have the control with Croc here to actually answer and force a bit of a split map, which you don't really want to do with this Jinx on the bottom side.
Oh, Charm lands. They want to try and fully engage onto this. They will see Caps get his Spider-Man abilities out and get himself to safety, but again, just kind of pushing in this mid lane. But like you said, it does feel like we are seeing just very much a horizontal map coming out here now. The Nidalee kind of owns the top side, and they're still kind of looking around this mid lane. Tinon's no flash, nowhere ready to go, needs to dodge out the hook. That's the big thing here, does do it. And Yikes should be able to get away, but now Caps is a little bit overextended. Do they have the damage to burn him down? That's the question. The charm is good, and Tinons will get the first blood. That's Loud on the board.
They try to go for the setup in mid, but Croc is there to help, but Loud, you can hear from the crowd, are happy with that one.
They are just living this one up. They know that the pressure was on them. They know they're a little bit underdogs, but that doesn't mean they can't celebrate those little wins.
And a little bit greedy, honestly, from like, you knew that Croc was probably still in the vicinity. Maybe he thought, actually, hold on to this. Shell's in a little bit of trouble.
Has flash and heal. Should be fine, I would imagine.
Should just back away. But you know that Shales is going to be, the Croc is going to be in the area. You already watched him walk towards that top side, but try to make the play work anyway, and great punish coming through from Loud.
Really, really well done, and we'll see the bot lane not reset just yet, and they haven't been spotted by that sweeper, so for the moment, this is a unknown entity for the G2 bot lane. Do they want to go for this one? Yep, they'll get the knock up there onto the Rel. We'll see the Flame Chompers come down. She'll be able to pick this one up there. So again, you got to be very careful. You got to feel like, you know, this Tam Kench, yes, he doesn't have a super reliable engage, but he's still dangerous.
Yeah, here you can see, though, Croc had walked out towards the top side, the hook machine as well, and Caps then stepping forward thinking you can still go for this, but there is so much damage that can come out from the Sejuani in the early stages, even Tinons as well, having that small little level advantage for a while, and getting those Foxfires off just at the right time to pick up the kill.
Look, what works in solo queue doesn't necessarily... Oh, there we go, the energy. The crowd absolutely love it. But again, look, what works in solo queue doesn't necessarily... We always kind of come into this as well, every single international tournament. You always remember Worlds where it's like, oh, a Moo Misfortune are back in bot lane, the Tryndamere mid, and then as you slowly go on, it's kind of like, doesn't really work as well.
Yeah, but I will say Loud made it work real well last year.
They did.
Where they absolutely manhandled bot diff, flexing on Fnatic in that lane. So I would not be surprised if Loud are kind of a little bit aware of some of the craziness that G2 are bringing to the table. And Zeus now trying to move up, make sure they can cover Mickey's roams. This is really good from Zeus. Every time we've kind of seen Mickey start to roam up, he's been trying to match.
Zeus has been very active there, just constantly calling anything that can really be around there. Croc was spotted out on awards, so they know that the Sejuani is very likely in this brush, even if they haven't got exact vision of him right now. But again, G2, they're kind of having to figure out where they want to try and go with this one now, because again, you still don't have the flash on Caps.
And because they've lost so much control over mid, Yike hasn't been able to invade as much as you want. Croc is now in control, and he's moving topside. You've got the Ahri in tow, Yike is here.
Yeah, you do have Yike here, but it's going to be a PP coming in off of it as well. Broken Blade does get CC down pretty damn well. He gets flash away, he gets a decent heal, but the resets are coming in. They will get Robbo though on the backside of this one here. Yike had the flash. And it's a 1-for-1 trade. You get to lose the teleport though off of Caps.
Broken Blade lost a lot of that wave as well. Will end up being picked up by Caps there, but you can see Tinons starting to get around the map, working with Croc. This is actually pretty dire straits for G2. Loud are winning this map consistently thanks to the plays that have happened in the mid lane.
And the bot lane has just basically been an island. I'm going to be totally honest with you right there. Both these AD carries very happy to kind of let this one go, but when you have a Darius and a Renekton, it does feel like it's a tipping scale. One gets more of an advantage by going on the bot lane. We're going to see Hans Sama getting a flash away. Does still have cleanse, but should just be fine. Root just putting some more damage onto Mickey X, but again, more good plays coming out from Loud.
Yeah, you do have a little bit of an advantage here for Hans Sama in that bot lane though. You've already got the bit of the CS lead. You're going to be able to extend it here as this wave comes in. You got the early cull as well. So at least as long as this bot lane gets left alone, G2 are in a good spot. But it's a top lane where it's not going so great. What was a winning lane for Broken Blade, he tries to get the pull, which works, but then the CC comes down, he flashes away, gets the heal, but now we're in action again.
Because you're going to be able to get the Permafrost down on this, no problem whatsoever. But they turn back in the Croc, and there's the execution. But this Croc is huge. You've got Robbo nearly able to take down Yike, but a double kill for Broken Blade, and G2 get themselves right back into this.
It was so close to going right for Leo, but G2 managed to swipe back, and even you can see Caps moving across the mid lane as well. He should get that. Yike just need to back away as Tinons was showing his face in River, but G2 managing to get something back off that play.
This is the thing as well, I was just mentioning it as we looked at that replay, is that with the Renekton and the Darius being so good at snowballing, it does feel like whoever gets that little bit of advantage, that tip of the scale, it can just go so wrong against you, and it's getting dicey.
Yeah, but the thing was, we talked about Loud, how they wanted to try and play around this top side, right? You've got the W from the Renekton, which helps set up so well alongside the Sejuani for the permafrost, for everything, but just haven't quite been able to get Tin Owns into a position where they could actually turn that one back around. But Caps now taking a little bit of damage from Tin Owns. Looks like the attention with Rift Tower going across the G2 has been shifted to Loud on the spot side. They want to go for a dive.
Sama doesn't have flash, does have cleanse. They're going to try and tank this one up as long as they possibly can. The flash forward, the flash away, and Sama gets a kill before he goes down though. They may look to try and kill off Mickey X. He doesn't have ult, and you've got 3 people here. They've cleared out the wave. Do they want to go for it? That's the question. Level 6, no one really kind of coming to him just yet, but LLL don't know that.
Yeah, they're trying to see if they can spot out where they're coming from. It's only Yike. Caps is now showing on mid lane, but looks like they're going to be happy enough. They got the kill. You deny that wave from Hans Sama, get that CS back in an even spot, and now they can even look over towards the Dragon if they want to, but they are going to take it easy and have Root actually come in for the reset.
Not going to be able to delay the back of Root there, as he wasn't even taking it. We will see Tin Owns landing the charm, but again, very, very powerful health bar, I should say, on the Nautilus. Should just be able to kind of go for it. Looking for a little bit of a trade back, but not really going to be much else.
And you can see what the issue here is, that when you're looking at this Nautilus, because you end up going for this Abyssal Mask first, you end up quite tanky with the Protector of the Aeons coming through. It's kind of difficult to take you down. You're just great CC setup, and then when you get towards the later portion of the game, opening up for the magic damage that can come through from Yike on that point and click CC is going to be so important to try and play around. Tin Owns now, having Yike attention, can we get the hook to land?
And this is the question. There is a flash available for the Nautilus. They've got plenty of vision here, but they did get spotted out, so they know that Yike is in that vision there. You can see them kind of pinging it out for the moment. Croc moving over, now gets spotted on with the sweeper of Mickey X. And everyone's just kind of getting a little bit tempered. Everyone's behind. They're a little bit behind, but it's a Nidalee. Should just be fine, in my opinion. But top lane, we're going to see another little move here. There's the ultimate coming in. Broken Blade looking for the 1v1. Has not got flash, and Robbo very lucky to get out of that alive.
Robbo just about able to flash away from that. Should be able to pick up the wave, I believe, but just have to be a little bit careful. Yeah, we'll be fine to manage to get that. You see G2 have managed to bully Loud on this bottom side as well, so they're getting the Dragon too. So what was a little bit of a slow start for G2 is now starting to come back alive. They got that Rift Herald, they've gotten the Dragon as well. The Rift Herald, I wouldn't be surprised, it's probably timing out soon, so Yike going to move down to the spot side, but Croc is ready.
Yeah, I mean, there's very little time left. Oh, actually about half the timer on it. Mickey X goes in, try to jump in onto that one. Hans Sama does have to cleanse. You do have Croc in vicinity. There's going to be a good Moonlight Vigil, and they're looking to turn this one right the way around. Loud now chasing back G2. A TP from Tin Owns, and a kill over to Croc. That was a perfectly baited setup because Loud saw everything they were doing.
Fantastic read from Croc. Waits in the bush. It's like G2 100% are coming down here. They want to try and get this gold into the Jinx, and instead, it's Loud who answer back. Now they're the ones on the tower as well, and Hans Sama might be spotted by Croc.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be forced back a little bit further, but that's going to delay him a little bit more. We're going to see more plates going off there. It's going to be the Rift Herald now spawn in the mid lane, but I'm going to be honest with you, that's all going over to the side of the Yike. There's not really much huge benefit in that in the short term.
At least it's for the Nidalee, right? It is a carry jungler, so she's going to do reasonably okay, but has to be worried about being bullied out of her own jungle. You can see Lyke trying to get down here for red buff, solo by Loud. Mickey considering it, but Sales is in the wings.
Yeah.
Just going to back away.
I do know the ward was there as well. The Hex Flash not going to go anywhere. Tongue Lash goes wide from Seos, but everyone else is kind of happy with this. And this is the thing as well. We're kind of coming into this state in the game where Loud are doing very, very well.
Yeah, looking at this top side, Tin Owns got the roam. Broken Blade doesn't know he's in the bad spot.
He does have a flash. He doesn't want to go for a 2v1. There's a good charm. You got full stacks here on the Renekton. Does he have enough health to stay? He flashes in to get the full stacks back on the Tin Owns. They need a good charm. They've got Caps coming in now. It's both solo laners against both solo laners, and now Loud, they're running away. It's a great hook, but it's a good charm to interrupt him. Caps cannot get the rest of the CC. And it was a great call there from G2, but it leads to nobody going down.
So close. Oh wait, they still might actually. Robo onto Caps.
He's going to look for the charm in top of it. They're going to pop the Dominus as well. They're going to get the ultimate in, but the Jinx goes nowhere. And Robo can't get away from this. The bleed is good. He needs one more to get Broken Blade as both top laners go down. Now Caps has nowhere to be, nowhere to go. The Orb of Deception is good. The charm is great, but Caps is very tanky. Caps on this Nautilus is doing so much damage. Caps, they've got the stopwatch and a Tin Owns, and he gets saved. And Croc comes to the rescue, only for Yike to clean him up afterwards. What was that section of play?
A 2 for 2 overall, but then you got G2 in the mid lane. Hans Sama is dealing damage to the turret mid, while Root is trying to answer in the bottom side. Loud trying to make the plays happen. G2 are answering back everywhere. This game is everything I wanted from CB LOL versus Europe.
It has literally been such a bloodbath. Both teams stepping up to each other, and it has been fantastic. Oh, we come back in, we'll take a breath. Everyone relax. We got a minute or two. Actually, we had a minute until the next fight. I just looked at the Rift Herald timer, but this is just turning into such a scrappy affair, and you can see how millimeters are the difference.
Really good play here from Broken Blade, though, because you can see he ends up getting the stacks of the knock, the passive, onto Robo, but then flashes to also apply them to Tinone. So they are both a threat in this one. Broken Blade managed to just dodge away from some of the caps. As he starts to come up, the charm, brilliant from Tinone to stop the engage, but then they think, okay, we can actually turn this. Caps is overextending. The Renekton, even though you get the shield, it's removed by the Renekton W, which is why I think Caps thought he was tankier than he is. He's forced to flash, the ultimate from the Jinx goes wide, and then the Bedlam just starts. I really thought Robo was going to be able to get the kill here, but just not quite able to thanks to Bleed. And then Tinone's not quite able to get Caps. This is again coming back to that Aeons. Every time you spend mana, you're getting health back. The shield is doing so much. He doesn't really have the cooldowns initially as he comes into this, and just about Croc comes in, only for the kill to go TI.
I mean, you can't sidestep an auto attack. That's all I'm saying there. But like, imagine going into a Nautilus with 200 HP and then you coming out the worst. That's the scary thing about this. But the crowd is absolutely loving this right now. As we come back to live, the Rift Herald is alive, and it's Loud pushing in that mid lane.
Loud trying to see if they can group up now. It's about getting control over mid so you can then move into River for this Rift Herald. Robo in a fantastic spot here. Nobody spot him, the engage goes off.
You got the heal out of him there. We're going to see Caps using his ultimate as well. We're going to try and get this one in, but there's going to be a dominance on the backside of this one. Seos goes down, he's the first one to fall. They're trying to see if they can take out this Renekton, but this Renekton's too damn big, and this is the mid-game power of this pick. As you can see, the Aphelios, the Ahri, they're all going crazy, and Rout will clean them all up. Loud are in London, and they're here to play.
The CB law will not be denied. A brilliant fight once more from the Brazilian representatives. Great positioning from Rout there to get into a spot where he could free fire onto so many of the key targets of G2, and using the Renekton, using the Sejuani, the synergy there, Loud win the fight.
We're going to need a replay of that, because the whole way through you can see that it's actually perfect for Loud. They not only get the kind of setup, but they get the tanks as well.
But this is the thing, so Caps ends up going on towards Seus, who's incredibly tanky. Rout and Tinone's then, they've actually got access on towards Hansama here, which means Hansama, he's got to reposition, and even though the ultimate goes down, Rout ends up getting a ton of the ults off here, and as well, look at where this Renekton is. He's just in the middle of everyone, tearing them asunder. Hansama gets focused down, he's forced to flash, but you just find so much time with the Renekton, the Sejuani, and then Rout finally pushing forward, flashing in to get this kill.
Huge team fight there for the side of Loud, and we're not done yet, because you can see in the picture-in-picture, we're coming back in for this dragon. But look, it would be a very unfortunate mistake, in my opinion, for G2 to try and contest this.
Yeah, I don't really think they can at the moment, especially with how spread out they are. Broken Blade has gone onto the top side, so they could actually look to try and go for the cross map. Looks like Mickey going to try and move up there, but because you got Root pushing in mid, he's going to be fine. The ult doesn't really steal it. Yike, what are you thinking here?
What are you thinking here, Yike? He's looking to try and just be a nuisance for the moment. They are trying to make sure there's no vision, so even if he does try go for a steal, it would be nothing. But G2 maybe looking to capitalize on a little bit of a separation there. The Aphelios will get gobbled up straight away. They get themselves the Devour from Seos, so a little bit of a win there for G2, but they do lose the Dragon, which means we're at a Dragon apiece as we come up to 17 minutes.
And that's the thing, as long as Loud don't fight, they don't get anything off it. G2 didn't try and cross map, went for the play, and they're still losing this.
They are still losing this. They're going to jump on the Mickey X, right, burn him down. That's the Rel down, and they're looking for more. Good Moonlight Vigil, but he's not a 3-item Aphelios just yet, so he's not blowing people up with that ultimate.
And now Loud gets to push in towards the mid lane. They've got the Rift Herald. They can get 2 towers. Tinone!
Oh, he
looks for the flash.
He wanted it so bad, but look, you miss all the shots you don't take, and that's confidence right now. They're feeling the momentum, and Loud, they're still pushing.
Especially when you got the crowd behind you like this. Now Loud starting to push in. That's 2 towers. They won't try and push for 1 and more charge, but they're going to be so happy with this. 4, 1, and 5 for Tinone's in the mid lane. 3 kills onto that Aphelios, who's going to back and get this Infinity Edge. This is so good for Loud.
And listen to the noise of the Brazilian fans right now here in London. They are loving this right now, and you cannot blame them. They are in such a strong position, and they are doing so well. They're outplaying G2.
And it feels like G2 tried to bring out this funky style, but Loud have read them every step of the way. Tinones and Croc getting control in the mid lane, leaning that pressure into side lanes, and now you've always got that late game insurance and Root, who's just starting to pick up all the items that he needs. One more item, and this Aphelios will be online, but also for G2, not having control of the map makes it very difficult for them to try and use the space that they have, try and use the extra range that they have. And right now, Loud, They're the ones dictating the pace of this. And with a dragon apiece, they'll be looking to see if they can add one more to the list in 3 minutes' time.
Well, I know who the crowd's looking out for. I know the crowd is going for, but I mean, what a start to this game. Look, it's not done just yet. You've taken some great steps here from Loud. You've been amazing at the way you've kind of brought yourself up to nearly the 20-minute mark, but the job is not done. And look, if we're talking about early game advantages that don't go the exact way, DFM versus PSG should be a cautionary tale. You should know that this game isn't over until that Nexus explodes.
The thing is, though, you need to try and start finding these picks if you're G2. You want to try and make sure that you're able to work off of Caps, get the damage from Yike, who now has that Night Harvester completed, working up towards the Shadow Flame. See if you can slow down the pace of Loud. Start to get control over the map again, but you can see Loud, they really don't want to. Croc and Sales working together, slowly but surely inching that ward line forward as Robo pushes in top. They know Tin Owns is going to be fine against the Darius in the bot lane, because, I mean, there's no TP for the Darius, so Loud always have the numbers advantage, and Tin Owns is safe.
I mean, look at the vision as well coming out from the side of G2. They just haven't really got a lot to tell you what's going on. They've got a couple of defensive wards, but that's kind of it. And it really is very telling to say that, like, Loud are controlling the pace. They're controlling the tempo. They are dictating to G2 when and where we fight.
Yeah, but the problem is you can see where Darius is positioned at the moment. He constantly has to try and work back and forth between both bot side and also mid lane. Because he doesn't have the TP, as long as Loud are continuously threatening that Baron area, he needs to be present, because Tin Owns can come in with a TP, gives control to Tin Owns to push out bot, buy a bit more time, you get some safe resets in, and this is where being behind without that TP is really starting to hurt G2.
Yeah. Let's see now what they want to kind of go for. It looks like Loud are maybe looking for a bit of a Baron push here, or at least a Baron dance. Try and just control the vision here. Caps does have TP, and Caps is in that bot side, so Loud will start off the Baron. It's only at 21 minutes. This is going to be a bit risky for them. They feel like they have the health bars.
They're just trying to burn Caps' TP. Tin Owns now pressure. There's the TP. As soon as they see it, they might back away, but
they might go for it. They're going to go for it. They're going to see the Jinx Rocket come in, the flashing over top, but it's Loud to get the Dragon. Now the fight can really ensue. There's going to be a great engage from Mickey X, though. Can you survive this? That is the question. Hamsama flashes out. Double kill for Broken Blade. Now the Moonlight Vigil is good. Tin Owns just defending everybody else. You lose two, but you gain the Baron.
Yeah, they have to see if they can still back away here. The ultimate from Rune and also the damage from Tin Owns pushing them back, but we got another pause.
Oh.
We got another pause.
Nobody likes a pause. Nobody likes a pause. But look, I will say, the one positive about this is that it wasn't as the Baron was about to go down. That's the one positive I will say. But, I mean, great fight from G2. They knew they could go for it, but what a call from Loud. They're going to say, no, we can finish this.
And that was it. I think they just kind of went, hey, look, if we can get the TP from Caps, that's both solo laners of G2 now without that summoner spell. So let's then try and play the map. But when they kind of realized, wait a second, this is going down quick. We have no G2 here. They managed to go for it and pick up the Baron, but it was just trying to get out. That engage from Mickey X really caused them issues, but with 3 people still getting it, they can try and spin around there. Tin Owns as well having it is going to make it a lot easier for him to just put pressure on a side lane and make it uncomfortable for G2.
That man on your screen really putting in work there in that last fight, getting 2 of those kills, and we can see just how just kind of easy it is to tip the game in your favor. You get 1 reset for the Jinx, the Darius getting resets on the Hemo Plague, or excuse me, on the Bleed. It's just kind of snowballs you away. So it is literally one way or the other. Both teams have ways of kind of resetting fights.
And that's the thing, is that, like, coming into this, I think a lot of people started to look at Loud going, well, you know, it's G2. Like, it's G2, they always pop up when it comes to international, they always look good. But, I mean, Loud has always been a team that has performed absolutely fantastic. I mean, look, they went from 7th place in spring 2022, but after that, it was all, like, they were just looking absolutely fantastic, winning back-to-back splits. Even when we looked at Worlds last year, Fudge tweeted, you know, best team in scrims was Loud, and now we're seeing as well Loud showing up on this international stage once more. The CBLOL is never a region that can be denied, and they are looking good right now.
They really, really are. I mean, like, it's one of those regions that you can never count out because of the history they have of just defying expectations, getting themselves up there and knocking down giants.
And it's a giant in G2. And a lot of the kind of conversation we've had about G2 coming into this has been, well, can they bounce back? You know, what does Caps look like in the mid lane? Yes, he brought out this Nautilus pick. Hasn't quite worked out the way they wanted. They tried to go for this strong mid jungle that the pairing didn't happen. You end up falling behind. And now it's very difficult for you to get back control. So it feels like a huge amount of this is now relying on the likes of Hansama, on Mickey X, to see if they can get that big engage and set up that team fight for the Jinx resets.
My football fan is like crying tears of joy right now with this crowd. It's absolutely awesome. But again, look, you kind of bring it back into this. Yes, in terms of the state of the game, Loud have the Baron. They lost 2 people off it, but it's still going to be useful for them to be able to kind of move forward with that. But for G2, it does feel like they are able to, if they get those engages, they're able to kind of blow the early summoners off of the Aphelios, there is a huge amount of room for them to be able to maneuver around these fights and use Broken Blade and Yike as the carries.
But that's with Zeus in the back line as well, right? You have to be very careful of this Tam Kench and not overcommitting for it. And Rude has been absolutely fantastic for this squad. I mean, the first Korean import to win a CB LOL title, he has been such a big addition to Loud, and now we got to see if he can step up once more on the international stage. Was struggling a little bit in the lane phase, I will say, but with the kills that he's picked up thus far, he's still in a great spot.
Well, we do have a slight update. Tournament officials are investigating a performance issue reported by Tinones, so it is on the Loud side. Obviously, we want to make sure all players are good. It seems like it's just a little bit of a performance issue. Hopefully, it's nothing too crazy. Hopefully, we'll be back into the game. Got the crowd going, man. It's just, I love this. I love the rivalry between these guys because, again, this is the funny thing is, this is the crazy thing we haven't even mentioned just yet, is that this is game 1. Yeah. This isn't a best of 1, this is a best of 3 in the new format. So again, this is kind of a huge momentum thing because, again, G2 chose blue and they're slightly behind now.
It's also interesting to see that a lot of the comfort picks that had been there for G2 were actually banned away by G2, like the Maokai, but they'd often slip it in with Jace or these kind of things. But the fact that we actually see them really trying to push for this Nautilus mid, I like that you're trying to bring out things that for the rest of the tournament you got to be aware of, but it's not quite there this time around. We're just going to get a replay of this. I mean, you see, at this stage, it's too late to try and jump out. Yike tries to get his pin, 82 HP. He leaves it at, but then this engage from Mickey X is absolutely spectacular. Sets up beautifully for Ansam on the back line. You've got Broken Blade in the mix of everyone. And again, Caps is just putting so much pressure onto Root in these fights with the ultimates, making sure that it's just very difficult for Root to really try and fight this. Even the fact you end up swapping over to the purple guns there, just a little bit unfortunate for Root.
Yeah, and Hansama as well. As soon as he flashed away, it was an instant kind of like still putting out DPS. He wasn't having to reposition as such. He was going grand. I've got the rockets, I've got the Runeance Hurricane. I'm still able to push forward. We will have Dragon being started and taken, you would imagine, by Loud now in a couple of seconds, as the Red Bull Baron power play kind of affords them that luxury.
I think you want to play this slow as Loud, though as I said, that they immediately started up, because you do have Robo on that top side. No real good wards for him to TP to. G2 trying to get priority mid so they can lean over. They don't spot Robo coming down, though. Might just spot him now as he comes in towards that top river brush.
Yes, they should spot him now as he's there. Jinx ult goes wide. That could have been dangerous, as it was about 1,300 health. They did get a buff in the last few patches where it's up to 1,200 damage on neutral monsters, but it is still a second Dragon to Loud, and they're still 4,000 gold up.
And now I want to see Loud start to spread out around the map. Get Tinones into one lane so he can use that Baron buff. You have the extra ability here with the TP available for Robo as well to actually play this 1-3-1 style and just make things very uncomfortable for G2. At the moment, though, you can see the Broken Blade pushing in that top wave, trying to deny access to that lane for Loud. And Loud grouping up now to meet with the wave that Robo's pushing in bot lane.
And this is what I'm loving seeing from Loud as well, is that every time they look for some area to play around, Root goes in, they're going to have to use the ultimate from the Sejuani, but they baited them all in. You talked about it, the Tam Kench ult is just so damn powerful. TP from the Crocodile to make sure nobody can follow up, and that's just a great pick.
Yeah, managed to get the pick onto Mickey X. Now it's going to be a 4 versus 5, even with the red gun here for Root as well. He's going to be able to heal up. There you go. And he's going to be totally fine now as he starts to push in. Tinones as well, starting to look for these flanks. Broken Blade has the flash. What can he do here?
10 stacks now on Tinones' Medjai Soul Stealer. He is very efficient with that. They can keep going. You've got Baron here for another few seconds, and they're going to crack open the base. The Brazilian team, the CB LOL, looking to try and really put a dampener here onto G2's party.
Yeah, and now they keep pushing into the spot. They should be able to get this. Mickey X has respawned, which is why we're seeing them slow down.
There's going to be a hook, but it's onto the Tam Kench. They're trying to jump back onto Caps. They can get the permafrost onto him in a couple of seconds. Oh, they've taken down Robo as he goes down, and you're going to get the resets coming as well. But look at Rout. Can he get away? Gale forces away from the hook. It's a 3v4. The Jinx still putting out serious damage. Tinones needs to walk away from this wall because those traps are deadly. Rout, very healthy, just needs to be very careful of Broken Blade, but it shall just be a 2-for-1 trade.
Keep your eyes on Yike, though. They're trying to wrap around. TP is available for Caps if you can try and get in on towards the bot side, but there it is. He's just trying to move in.
They know he's there. TP coming in as well. That's going to be Caps joining back in on the fight. A 4v3, but can they go? But Tinones does take a javelin to the face. There's going to be a hook, and there's going to be tanked up, and there, no flash will save you from Yike, and he can continue going forward. They'll take down Root. They'll kill them all, and G2 strike back with a vengeance.
And they should be able to get some of the bounties on this bot side as well, managing to just try and close that gold lead, because right now 3,000 gold separates these two teams. It's about to dwindle, and G2 managed to just about find their way back in.
The crowd once more. The crowd is loving this game right now. We are not done just yet. The Renekton gets brought in, stunned up, and taken out. Yike with another kill. 7-1-6 on the Nidalee, and Yike is showing up on the international stage.
The wheels are starting to come off for Loud. Robo overextends there, managed to get caught out, and we're just going to come back to this play here. As you start to go forward, try to see if they can catch onto Tin Owns. They managed to catch Sales off the back of this. Just barely able to escape away. That means that in this fight, you're actually on towards the tanky members, which is not what G2 expected at all.
No, not at all. But, I mean, the Renekton just kind of fell like paper. It just didn't really go anywhere, do anything, got stunned up and really just got deleted down. And this is where the Renekton kind of starts to lose that big kind of, backline threat, because there's so much damage to burn him down.
And this is the range that we were talking about for G2 as well. You can see Hansam is constantly able to just get some poke. Yike is just waiting on the side, seeing what he can do as well. He's already hit the spear, so he gets the long jump onto Tin Owns, finish them off. Caps immediately turns onto the AD carry, and Sales tries his best, but it's the crit that comes through from Hansama, which puts him down.
It's the killer instinct from G2 as well. They kept pushing in there, yeah. I mean, definitely feeling the pressure in this one here. We come back to live. It's still a gold advantage here to Loud. They are still definitely looking very good as they have got themselves 3 items on their Aphelios. Root can do exceptionally well if he's given the chance to plant his feet and put out damage. However, on the other side of that one here, you're only about half an item or so, or 1,500 gold away, but from Hansam, and never mind, he's just picked it up, an IE for the Jinx.
It's also the fact he has that Ruin's Hurricane. It's so much of G2's damage is going to be reliant on Jinx, trying to make sure she can get those resets, following up on Caps, following up on Yike. So you need to be very careful for Loud, but you can see if they're actually able to get control of the map like this, it becomes incredibly difficult for G2 to really just walk into it. They need Broken Blade to match sides. Caps is getting very tanky with the Radiant Virtue now completed as well, but not tanky enough if Loud just managed to turn onto him.
It's going to be the Renekton in the mid lane there, as Robo just kind of making sure he's not doing too much of a threatening position. They will jump in on top of him and force out his dominance, and they're going to try and go for a full fight here. Mickey X is the one to tank everybody off, but another fantastic Magnet Storm from Mickey, and the resets are coming in. G2 have found their fight, and G2 are running Loud down.
Yike will not let Root escape here, but Zeus gets the
They're turning back. Rout looking for more. He's got the red gun, but he hasn't got any more damage out of him now. But G2 can turn and burn for the big purple worm.
And they're immediately going to turn over towards it. 8-1-7 now for the Nidalee. Yike, we talked about him bringing out this Nidalee. We said it didn't work with Caps, but Yike trying to put on a performance that doesn't matter, where he can be the carry. Loud trying to respond, moving down towards this. This would be the 3rd dragon for themselves if they can pick it up in trade for G2 getting the Baron.
There's the trade-off here as we come back in. This is going to be G2 taking the gold lead as they do take down the Baron and get themselves their own Red Bull Baron power play. But again, it's just there's so much engage options available for G2. If anybody gets caught, they're going to be shredded. And
this is the issue now again. Once you kind of end up in this position where G2 can siege, they're in a good spot. Robo gets caught. You try to get Croc on towards Hansama. He's not able to. And Mickey immediately again, massive engages from the support of G2, gets on towards Root, sets up for the play from the Nidalee, and it's now Hansama able to again chase them down using the slows. Once Loud start to crumble, they fall apart fast against G2's composition.
And again, you can see Loud there. The fact that Root gets out and keeps his summoners is honestly a godsend. It's huge for them. But G2 now have a Baron. They have got themselves pressure in most of the lanes, and you struggle to clear these waves. The Renekton's not really going to be able to do a lot for you, and you can just overload a side lane.
Now they're immediately moving up towards this top side. Root was pushing mid, so G2 know they're good to go for this, which is why Broken Blade fishes for the hook, but doesn't find Croc.
Most of the time you don't want to get a crocodile when you go fishing, but this time around you'll take anything you can get. So with a Kahneman and Charles now, they're looking for a TP. That's going to be very deep. It's a double TP. They're looking to try and get on top of Croc. Croc's so tanky though. You've got green and white. Let's fight. They're going to jump down onto Mickey X. They know everybody's here. Look at the damage. He's able to heal off on Robo, doing so much, and with that stopwatch doing so exceptionally well. But you got Hansama still doing it. Broken Blade. They're all bleeding, and G2 find their fight. It was Loud who instigated, but it's G2 who finish.
It looks so good, but Root manages to snipe one back. So close. Hansama goes down, so G2, they look like they might have been able to end, but Root just about manages to keep G2 at bay.
And Loud survive, and this was Loud looking for it as well, but great turnaround, and again, just able to get so much value out of this Darius.
I mean, I really thought that was going to be the fight for Loud. The TP into the back line. Hansam is a sitting duck, but they just can't quite get access to the Jinx. And then Broken Blade managing to get that huge play for the squad. 9-3 on this Darius right now.
What a game one from both these squads, and honestly, still right now, it could go either way. Yes, the 3,000 gold lead here for the side of G2, but that was all off the Baron play, but it does feel like that momentum is going for them. I will say, Robo hasn't really finished an item in ages. He kind of picked up that stopwatch to make that play happen, and unfortunately for Loud, it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, he's been stalled out at this stage. It's kind of the problem with the Renekton. You wanted to try and win heavily through that top side. It started off so well, but now as the game starts to progress forward, there's just not really enough left in the tank for this Renekton. Root has to try and step up here. Does have the Ruined Hurricane now finished for himself, which will be great in these team fights, but it's about trying to find access to Hansama, and that's why Loud committed so much to that play. All those TPs to try and get access to the Jinx, they just couldn't quite do so.
Big thing is, though, Dragon spawning in 2 minutes' time, Hansama will not have his flash. In fact, most people will not have their flash. So if Robo can get himself on that back line, land a Call the Meek, and get himself huge kind of benefit off that, it could change the tide of this. But again, it's getting onto that back line.
But look at that goal difference power by AWS. Like, that is absolutely absurd. The swing that we've seen across this game, G2 having to fight tooth and nail, and now Loud, can you find one fight to bring it back? Can you find one ultimate from Croc that can maybe set you up? One charm from Tin Owns. But G2, their range is disgusting to deal with right now. It's so hard to deal with this siege that G2 are putting down.
And not only that, for a lot of the times you catch somebody out, stopwatch on Yikes, stopwatch on Caps, a GA now for Hansama as the Glacial Prison goes well wide. Caps, though, kind of underneath the tower, but had the minions to kind of tank that one up. But again, you have double lives available for so many on G2.
Yeah, and especially with Croc's ultimate going wide, now it falls onto Tin Owns. G2 trying to see if they can get some vision. Around. There we go!
Wow, Mickey X jumps in, the Magnus Storm, and Rout has been found. Rout has been killed, and your damage is gone now. You need to try and survive, but Zeus will be the second kill that goes over to Hansama, and G2, they're feeling the momentum.
Mickey has been a monster in this game. Every time G2 have needed him, he has stepped up huge, and now Loud cowering their base as G2 start to march forward.
And you survive one more. You don't have super minions from the top lane yet, but they're coming. They are not far off, and it looks like G2 want to go for it. Robo looking to try and burn down this minion wave, but he won't be able to do it. However, the ult from the Broken Blade gets him a double kill, and it looks like G2 has survived the Brazilian Storm in game number 1, and the LEC number 2 will be getting themselves game 1 in this best of 3.
Will be the kill going across, and the Nexus will fall. G2, game 1 will go to them.
God, I love best of 3s, because we might get that just again. That was so close, and it really did feel like either team could just tip the scales. One big ult, one big, Darius cut down. You changed the fight.
One Baron play. That was the difference here. The fact that you end up going for this play, you get that massive engage coming through from Mickey EX to turn it around with Hansama Magic Free Firing. Yike being a beast on this Nidlean fight. It looked so good for so long for Loud, but just at the finish line they managed to stumble.
I mean, it was just a slugfest. It was just haymaker after haymaker from both sides, really looking to try and push this for them. And unfortunately, when you play that style of game, it can go wrong for you, as we saw for Loud, but so right for G2. Just so much that you can kind of get out of that, and it just really felt like, they weathered the storm, and that was so important.
And I think the big one is that, as you kind of rightly point out, still have a game 2 ahead of us. Loud, like, one fumble does not mean that you were out of this series at all. They played very well around the mid lane, making sure that they shut down the mid jungle for G2, that they then started to lean Tin Owns into side lanes to make sure it was good. There is still life in Loud.
Yeah, there really, really is. But we're going to send it over to the analyst desk to break that down that game a little bit more.
Ashid, you deserve a break, my friend. Take a breath, get some oxygen tanks. There's only one way to summarize that game. It was effing awesome.
Yes.
I mean, non-stop action from minute 1. Croc forgets to buy items, and that's the least dramatic thing that happened this game.
Yes!
Gut reactions after what we just saw.
It was a fiesta.
I feel like I went through a best of 5 in one game. It was a roller coaster throughout.
Oh, definitely.
Can we bring up the post-game breakdown? And I mean, GB, talk to me a little bit about this, because look at the gold swings. We can also briefly talk about the compositions as well.
I just have to give a huge amount of credit to Loud for playing that early game. When G2 knocks in that Nautilus and they don't have a lot of things to play for, I mean, rather, it's about playing for the top lane beginning. You have a Darius would push, you have the Nidalee, you have to move up there, you have to get the kills. BB almost does it alone. But then it's Loud every single time being the first one on the mark. They are the one making the plays. And yeah, Loud, you know, they're just a better team in the early game, straight up.
I mean, they played extremely well. I think I want to give some credit to both my analysts because during Countdown, we talked about some of those picks that could come to fruition.
No, that's Raz, bro. That's Raz.
Yike played the Nidalee. It's a really good job. Okay, so let's start playing this. Because the game was so action-packed, I've got a whole collection of replays that I'm going to ask my analysts to break down.
Okay.
Raz, I'm going to come to you first. Let's start highlighting that early game that Gulborg just talked about. How well Loud played it and what generates them effectively a 6K gold lead.
Yeah, so the fact that they went and by an edge, just being able to see the fact that Nautilus was so close to getting this kill, and then the response coming in from Sejuani. And I want to take a step back because even though this was one play, it felt like it was a bunch. Seosh really saving Sejuani in the level 1.
I mean, it was because it was a bunch of plays. There's been so much action on the top side already, right? Straight from where the first was, or not first, but straight up from the double kill in the beginning to dive from Loud as well up towards that top side. The 1-for-1s and still around the top side with the skirmishers.
Yeah, and this one in particular, Root was in danger. Even though they engaged on Tom Kench, Root would have been the next target, but he cleared out, played alongside Ari, so then they can have another way to play the fight. And so I thought they just played smart within this Herald fight.
I just thought the game was over.
Oh!
Right there.
Yes!
And so did he.
Talk that talk.
And we saw more of that as well. You know, Tinion's in the mid lane with the player cams was laughing even when they traded the 1-for-1 on the top side as well with the dive when they got the first blood. There is so much expression in these players as well. And you know, arguably so, they were riding that high in the early game. Even when Croc accidentally didn't get those items, it was heartbreaking looking at the player cams. The funny thing though is that even walking back now on stage, that's not the thing he's going to be regretting.
No. Not at all, but let's keep in mind, even though he didn't pick up those items, he still won the Smite fight, he still got first blood onto Caps. Before we look at how G2 came back, before we get to that, let's summarize that early game because it did feel like, first of all, Loud were able to run away with it. Secondly, that Nautilus pick got a little bit bloody, wasn't necessarily unlocked across the map. And I personally expected a little bit more from Yikes Nidalee. Is that fair to say?
I mean, I think it came down to the way that these things were played. Like, the Nidalee uses pressure in the early game. The fact that she got so much more fast clear. The fact that in this game, the enemy jungler had to recall, and you could not leverage that into either a top lane dive or a push in with mid and move, or just move with the Nautilus. When Doinby was so fantastic on the Nautilus mid, it was about saying, I'm just going to drop this wave. I don't care about it. I'm roaming top. I'm going to get a kill. It's going to be worth it.
That's why I kind of feel like Seo should save that level 1, because if the support wasn't there in that one, and if the Nidalee wins that Smite fight, and the Sejuani does not have Smite, then your entire topside quadrant gets completely taken over. And so you were even, technically, because Nidalee had to go towards her own quadrant. So there was that part, and then it felt like Tinon's had his own play throughout mid lane. So there was a lot that was riding on how that early game was played from Loud as a team.
Now let's talk a little bit about some of the individual players, and I'm going to ask Gulborg to explain to me, how did G2 come back? In my eyes, I think that Broken Blade's Darius had a significant impact, especially in the later fights. But before we get there, how did they do it?
No, I actually agree with you. I think BB was actually the most consistent member in this game so far, and so many times he almost gets a reset. This is one of them, and it's one of many as well before they finally pick it up. But it's through straight team fighting. This game turned into a team fighting simulator, and I think the base defense in general was what saved them. It was an overextension by Loud, and Yike could continue to hover through the jungle because he's so fast at Nidalee, because you get movement speed in the bushes, because you have the gang or the jump as well, and the TP from Caps who's coming in for a gang. You're able to turn that fight around. As soon as you picked up the shutdowns, that was the momentum, the gold, the items you needed to try and come back into the game.
Look at this fight.
Oh my god, give me more of that.
That was insane to see from Broken Blade, and a game as hectic as this, where you can lose focus. It felt like he was spot on.
Oh, who knew that it was Adam's training, the hyperbolic time
so
chamber of Adam's Darius that has pushed this through and maybe helped BB.
You know what's so funny about that is every time it's like, oh yeah, but when you get into a new meta, when you get to the international, these picks won't work. But now it's defined it from Europe. The fact that you play the Olaf, the fact that you play the Darius, these are like EU takes.
Yo. So, okay, Loud just lost that game, which means they have side selection. I don't know the last time I said this sentence. Loud have chosen red side. Ooh. So let's now set our sights, catch our breath, Teamfight Simulator Game 1 is over. G2
Yes.
are up there on match point.
I think against G2 specifically, it's a choice where you also know that on blue side, you can wait till all the flexes come down. If there's a specific pick that you need to be worried about, on blue side, it's way harder to actually play into the flex because they will always have the last pick available. This time, you flipped it, and that can happen.
100%, I agree with that. Something to take a note from the last draft, the fact that Tom Kench and Ari came in 4-5 from Loud meant a lot. Because suddenly, the single target damage from Nautilus and Italy wasn't as impactful when you have the Tom Kench to save the backline, or in the AD carry in this case. So you have that, and I felt like the flexibility of Ari there. So I think they saw a lot of value in this first game. Said, hey, we just made mistakes off the advantage that we had a lot.
Yes.
So they're looking at the execution, not so much at the draft.
Because it was just execution in the end. There's nothing along. Maybe there's a bit you can nitpick at, right? But we all know that it
I
came
want
down
you
to
to
that
nitpick.
basic.
I actually want you to nitpick for a second because I hear we've got a little bit less than a minute to go.
Okay.
Are there any particular players that you are looking at that you go, okay, for this, let's say specifically in the early game, is specifically
I
in
was
how those
specific
things
in the
play
early
out?
game before the minions spawn, kind of, because
Okay,
then
let's
it's buy
not,
an item.
let's
But
not
if it's
harp
not
on that.
then you know it's something else.
Croc will be shopping, but I mean, let's talk about Yak, let's talk about that mid lane matchup. I mean, oh wait, actually, ad break is there. We won't have time.
you
to do that.
lied, bro.
We are going to an ad break when we come back. G2 Esports will be taking on Loud in game number 2. Please give me 2 more.
Please, I'm begging.
Me too.
Yikes should be able to get away, but now Caps is a little bit overextended. Do they have the damage to burn him down? That's the question. The charm is good, and Tinoz will get the first blood. That's Loud on the board. Sayos goes down. He's the first one to fall. They're trying to see if they can take him with this Renekton, but this Renekton's too damn big, and this is the mid-game power of this pick. As you can see, the Aphelios, the Ari, they're all going crazy, and Rout will clean them all off. Loud are in London, and they're here to play. Robo doing so much with that stopwatch, doing so exceptionally well. But they got hands down, but still doing it. And broken